Thanks for spending time with me here on the Retirement Income Source, where it's all about increasing your income. That is correct. Most people are leaving money on the table. That's what I mean by increasing income. Because, see, you're investing your money in market-based investments like mutual funds and exchange-traded funds, and you're getting a certain amount of income from those investments. You are truly diversified, but the problem is your income is not enough. It's not sufficient enough. So unfortunately, you're leaving money on the table. I'm Tim Sparks, and our show today is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. You know, this show is for you, the listener, whether you're a pre-retiree who wants to get it right or a retiree who wants their retirement to end well. It doesn't matter if you're starting in retirement or you're planning on eventually going into retirement or you're already in retirement. The key is you don't want to run out of money before you run out of breath. And it's always nice to explore different philosophies and options when it comes to retirement that are applicable to you, because keep in mind, we're all different. We all view risk different. So if we view risk different, means we need to find the investment options that's going to get us through retirement, because that's going to be extremely important. We all want peace of mind. We all want to have less stress when we're in retirement. We already have enough stress as it is. And if you think about it for a moment, the only thing I can tell you is be diligent. Be diligent in your pursuit when it comes to finding a financial advisor. It doesn't matter at the end of the day what advisor it is. It doesn't matter the knowledge or the certification. What it boils down to is where they got your money invested. And our show is here to let you know that there is different options out there that people are not aware of, that they can invest their money and have their cake and eat it too. But if you're investing for spending principal each and every year, then you're always running the risk that the markets are not going to cooperate, and if they don't cooperate, and then unfortunately you're going to be left behind. One day you're going to look back and you're going to regret the retirement that you otherwise could have had because you didn't do your due diligence. So you want to make sure you do your due diligence. And keep in mind, what you found out to be true in accumulating wealth may not be so when it comes to spending wealth. In other words, it's a tall order to spend wealth and at the same time keep wealth. And when you're accumulating wealth, you have no worries. It kind of came by accident. You were growing your money, but because you were contributing to your plans, and whenever like the markets dropped in the financial crisis and also in the dot-com bubble, it didn't really affect you. Why? Because you were still working. You had income flowing in. And so keep in mind, by accident, your portfolio acted in the right manner. Why? Because you're not touching it. When you leave things alone, the markets have a tendency to come back, and when they come back, when you were contributing, you were buying low. That's the way we create wealth in the first place. We want to buy low more than we buy high. But when you're in retirement, you want to be able to do just the opposite. You want to be able to invest for income, so that way the markets go up, they go down, or go sideways. You got income flowing in regardless of what the markets are doing. Today we're going to be talking about understanding the difference between different types of annuities. In other words, there's the good, there's the bad, and there's the ugly. Did you know in 2023, I was just reading the statistics, that $96 billion went into annuities? Which begs the question, why is everybody purchasing annuities all of a sudden? 10, 15 years ago when we would meet with people would come in and they would say, I don't want an annuity or don't want to have anything to do with it. It's like running fingernails across a chalkboard, because to some degree, people really just didn't understand annuities. Sometimes we stop and don't even think about annuities other than what we read. If we read about them in a bad way, and then we're just assuming they're bad, and a lot of times we come to conclusions of annuities. And I'm neutral when it comes to annuities, so don't get me wrong. This show is not talking about annuities other than to tell you what they are. If a lot of money is going to annuities, which begs the question, why are people investing their money in annuities? And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is why. And so there's the good reason, there's the bad reason, and there's the ugly reason. Another way of putting it, also make sure you understand the fine print. And one of the biggest reasons I think people buy annuities is because of what they do. They do one thing probably very well. It depends on what type of annuity you're purchasing. And not only that, a lot of advisors are getting in the industry. That's a negative. When they get into the industry, they kind of default to something that's very easy. It's easy to be able to sit across somebody that you never met before who more than likely is risk averse. And so if I can propose to you a risk-averse investment that's going to average 10 to 15% a year and not take any risk, I've got your attention. The problem is that person's so new, they don't understand the issues with annuities, and as the longer the term, the lesser chance of that annuity returning a good return on that annuity. Why is that? Because insurance companies are in the business to make money in both a positive way and a negative way. The point of you purchasing an annuity is for what it does. I can spend several shows on annuities, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But most people think that I'm talking about annuities. Matter of fact, we've had people come in and say, you're talking about annuities. I said, absolutely not. Annuities typically don't pay dividends. So keep that in mind. Whenever somebody was to tell you they pay dividends, they absolutely do not. And there is a market-based investment that has mutual funds inside of it, but they do not pay dividends. Only thing that pays dividends is certain type of stocks. So if this makes sense to you, in other words, you want to know more about, is an annuity right for you? I don't know. Like I said, I'm very neutral when it comes to annuities. But I got a commission report I want to share with you that is more of unbiased. It's more of just, the point of it is just to help you to see that there is a universe of income generating financial strategies out there. And this commission report can be yours if you call in right now, 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080, and we'll mail this to you or even email it to you. And it's a great, simple read. It takes probably less than 10 or 15 minutes. I would encourage you to read it more than once. And then, again, that number is 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. I'm Tim Sparks, your host. And we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly, the skinny, when it comes to annuities. And going back to that commission report, the introduction to the universe of income generating financial strategies. There is a lot of people we meet with are kind of unsure when it comes to annuity. We like to invest in things we're familiar with. Well, this report covers a lot of the other places you can invest your money if you're not a big fan of annuities. And I'm sure some of you have actually purchased annuities and may be having second thoughts whether if that was the right decision for your particular retirement. Well, the biggest thing that I see with annuities is they solve a problem. The purpose of them is they have a benefit. And if you think about it for a moment, what is the benefit of car insurance? Well, if you have an accident, of course, none of us want to have an accident, but if we have an accident, our car will get replaced. Well, so we pay premiums for that type of protection, even though we don't want to have an accident. Well, when it comes to homeowners insurance, we got a large asset, it's our home, and we're paying a premium, a reasonable premium, so that way if that house was to ever burn down, or if we get some kind of wind damage to our roof, or maybe the tornado comes through, blows the top of our roof, or maybe there's other structural damage, then we rest assured the insurance will actually replace that, and that is homeowners insurance. That's a benefit. And so we want that, right? Because it's astronomical to affect the value of such a large and precious asset like our home. And so we want to, we want to spend a little bit of premium out of our own money to be able to do that. So it's very necessary to have that. Well, some people, and I think this is one of the biggest reasons people have been buying annuities, and it's a record level last year at $96 billion, is because they're trying to protect something. What is that? They're trying to protect maybe part of their IRAs or their 401ks. And to do that, you invest in certain particular annuities, and that's what I think people are prone to. We're risk averse to some degree. We don't like to lose a lot of money, and so we're convinced to buy a particular annuity so that way we can protect our principal. Also, an annuity will provide something called longevity insurance. You don't know how long you're going to live, and so longevity insurance, you purchase that by actually getting various types of annuities that have riders, or you can buy an annuity direct and not have a rider at all, and you give up your money in exchange for income. Either way, you're getting income. So the goal is you don't know how long you're going to live, so the insurance company is offering you a benefit. Not the benefit of protecting principal where you still have your money intact, but the benefit of protecting your income. You want so much more income coming in that's guaranteed. Because this day and age, if you think about it for a moment, the only income that you got coming in is Social Security. And some people, if you're fortunate enough to have pension, then good for you. Of course, pensions are fading and going away, and there's a lot of companies out there that are wobbling right now. They're considering cutting pensions, and I know Teamsters have threatened the union, the largest union in the United States at one time, are threatening to cut benefits. And I know that because I have some uncles and stuff that own, benefit or pension-like benefits from them. But right now, so far, so good. But the thing is, though, people want other income protected, and you can do that with an IRA. And so that's why you would purchase an annuity, because you want the income benefit. And plus, since you don't know how long you're going to live, it may make sense for you for some portion of your money. Keep in mind that annuities serve a purpose, and that purpose is they serve a purpose for some kind of a benefit. What kind of benefit? That's why you purchase the annuity. There's a lot of problems with annuities too. That's why we call it the bad and the ugly, and we're going to talk more about that throughout this show today. If you want to learn more about income first methods, the whole central focus of this show, investing for income and having your cake and eat it too, which typically annuities cannot do. That's with stocks that pay dividends. I want to get you an excellent book out there called The Retirement Income Story, authored by CFA Dave Scranton. He talks a lot about investing for income while still in the market. Annuities, you can't necessarily do that unless you're dealing with a high fee annuity called a variable annuity. And also, it talks about why isn't my advisor recommending such recommendations like investing for income the old-fashioned way. And I got a free copy for the first 5 callers of today's retirement income source by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail this book to you if you're one of the first 5 callers. Free, no obligation book, 888-930-1080. When we come back, we're going to touch more on the income benefits and why people purchase annuities, and one of the reasons why you should be getting an annuity. And we're going to talk more about that, and also some situations where the person actually purchased an annuity, didn't know that's what they were getting, and they didn't even need income. So we're going to cover more on that just in a minute. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks. Welcome to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks. Our show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. Today we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly on annuities. Thank you for listening and tuned in to our show today. What you don't know may hurt you, or simply put, running the risk of running out of money. Do you want to earn money on your money each and every year? Well, you do that and by investing in interest and dividends. You don't invest your money in CDs, that's short term. You invest your money in long term, like corporate bonds, and preferreds and those type of bond-like instruments. Why? Because they residually pay income longer. CDs are too short-term. Yeah, it's okay to have short-term money in CDs. Be thankful that you got CD rates as where they are today, but they're not there to fixed income. You see, we see people missing out on income each and every year. If you want to give yourself a pay raise, then invest your money for income, the I and not the G. Believe it or not, most people who listen to this show don't even really probably know what I'm talking about. Interest and dividends, you probably are familiar with that. You can probably Google that or look up the definition. That's money that's paid to you regardless. And you can actually be in volatile instruments like stocks and bonds to do that, or you can be in fixed instruments like CDs or fixed annuities. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, are you okay with the income that you're getting paid? What most people are doing is they're taking a lot of risk. They're being sold that the performance of the market will keep up with the withdrawals that are coming from their portfolio each and every month. And so if you take a withdrawal, for example, let's just say you're taking out 5% and you're only getting 2% from dividends, that means the other 3% is coming from principal. So most people reasonably believe that they can make 3% per month. Well, that's 36% positive return in a 12-month period, and I'm going in a static way, going one direction, going up. Well, we all know that the markets doesn't do that. There's some months that the markets go down. There's months that the markets go up. And there's years that it takes for the markets to even recover from prior years from all-time highs. So we have to be very careful when we're going into retirement, when we already got some things against us. And that, see, anytime you spend principal, you've already got something against you. You've already got, I mean, if you think about it for a moment, a baseball pitcher knows that they got to have a good fastball, but also a fastball, believe it or not, home run hitters that's their favorite pitch because they're used to balls being thrown at them at 90 to 95 or 100 miles an hour because that's what they practice for. It's the junk that the pitcher throws at them that actually gives them concern, especially a pitcher that knows how to control like a curveball, or maybe a very tough pitch is a knuckleball or a changeup. And so there's all these type of pitches out there that pitchers use for their defense to be able to keep the batter on their toes so that way they can hopefully strike them out. And so if we invest our money for growth and we just focus on growth, it kind of reminds me of, the first home run hitter of all time was Babe Ruth. And Babe Ruth will tell you that he also struck out over 2,000 times. Why is that? Because he was going for the fence. That was who he was. He focused on hitting the ball out of the park, in which he did very well. He had some seasons he hit over 60 home runs in a given season. And we all remember him as the best home run hitter of all time, even though his record has actually been surpassed. Well, when I think of the stock market, I think of a growth of the stock market, and that's in growthier stocks. I think of there's years you're going to hit home runs, there's years you're going to strike out. And that's not a financial plan. You don't put a plan together where you're going to have home run, where you're always swinging for the fence and then you strike out because you were incorrect. Because see, when you take money out of your portfolio, you don't, and if you're striking out, then you're actually spending more and more of your principal. So you already got odds against you. And so, the name of the game is increase your odds of not running out of money. You do that by actually investing for income. And a lot of people, a lot of times play down this investment for income. They think I'm being very conservative when I'm talking about investment for income. No, actually it's just the opposite. You can invest in stocks that pay dividend and still have growth. Currently, I was looking and examining a portfolio the other day, and currently right now in our dividend paying portfolio that's strictly all stocks. We've only got a very few clients that are actually investing all their money in growth and income combined, and they're still up about 16%. Well, the S&P 500 is up 17%. If you think about it for a moment, the S&P is only paying me 1.5% dividend, and I'm providing 4.5% in dividend. Well, the point is, I can get growth and income and keep up with inflation by having an increased dividend. And not only that, I have a plan B at the same time. Plan B in the S&P 500 index fund of 1.5% is not enough income for the majority of the people we meet with. So if you would like to know more about income generating and financial strategies, I got a commission report I want to get in your hand. There's a plethora of investment options out there that people are not even using that are much better when it comes to income and trying to be able to reduce risk at the same time while going into retirement. And this report can be yours if you call 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail this to you or email it, whichever you prefer. Again, that number is 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. I'm Tim Sparks, and we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly on annuities. I had a client that, if you remember earlier, when it comes to annuities, or just like in any insurance product, is always a benefit it is trying to solve. Homeowners insurance, in case your house burns down. If you have an accident in your car, then you will have your car recovered. Well, what people are doing when they use annuities is they're trying to protect something. And so whatever that protection is what you need to understand. And if it does, it needs to be so. You also need to deal with somebody that's very experienced in that arena. I mean, think about it for a moment. You wouldn't hire a doctor who just graduated from and's been through all their interns and so forth, and just graduated with 4.0 grade point average, and could be one of the smartest people out there. And you need smart people to be a doctor. But at the end of the day, if they don't have any experience, would you hire them? Well, there's a lot of people out there that's got certifications that's only been in this industry 1 or 2 years. And they're selling products that they don't have any clue what they're about and what the benefits of those products are. People that's been in the industry for a long time, and yes, I have been in the industry for 19 years, there's a lot of things I've learned. And one thing I have learned about annuities is they're not for everybody. And to be quite honest with you, I've seen some really bad annuities, and I've seen some sold to people and never have understood why. And a lot of the reason why is because the advisor was more of an amateur, and they're trying to, they're coming in and solving a one problem, which to maybe a risk-averse person, all they hear is the word protection or principle, and they're all in, not realizing that there's some negatives that's with that particular annuity. And I know a lady that actually did this. She purchased an annuity for the purpose of some growth and no loss to principal, and she wanted a death benefit to be handed to her children. She was totally legacy-minded. And so there's annuities out there that are legacy-minded, and that is it. That's what they do. They provide legacy to their client, to their heirs. And so there's particular annuities out there that are good legacy, and there's also out there, there's good products out there that are not good legacy. And so somebody that's inexperienced may just sell you the first thing that whatever organization they're working with that they're trying to encourage them to sell. And not only that, they could be selling something for the purpose of commission and not for the purpose of, for longevity or for more death benefit or legacy benefit. And so there's some people will buy these things for legacy. Well, this particular lady actually bought what she thought was legacy, and it wound up not being legacy. It wound up strictly being an income benefit product. Well, if you're trying to solve income, then I can tell you right now that's not legacy. It's trying to solve income. If she wanted income, then she would have been okay where she was at. That's like going to McDonald's and purchasing a fish sandwich and they hand you a Big Mac. They gave you the totally different what you asked for originally. So you got to be very careful whenever you're describing a particular product or a certain benefit that you're trying to solve, which is exactly what she didn't get. So basically what it cost to her was an additional 3 or 4% in particular returns each and every year because she bought a product that will not hardly earn any money. In other words, she wanted income, she would be okay there, even if she lived a long time, but at the same time, she could have purchased other products out there that could have fit her legacy needs, and so therefore she wound up buying the wrong product, and so she had to make some decisions. And so, we can talk more about that a little later in the show. But if you would like to know more about income first methods, that you don't need an annuity to get income, and only that to serve you as far as longevity, as long as you can stomach volatility in the long run, you'll be still better off, and that's investing for income the old-fashioned way, interest and dividends. I got a great book I like to get in your hand called The Retirement Income Story, authored by CFA David Scranton. And I got a free copy for the first 5 callers of today's retirement income source by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail this to you if you're one of the first 5 callers. Free, no obligation book, 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks. Our show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. You can actually go to our website, www.sparks, that's my last name, SPARKS, FG, which stands for financialgroup.com. And there's a lot of great information on there. And not only that, I have found practically every week somebody is going online and actually schedule an appointment where they can actually come in the office and talk about the concepts. Because, we generally speak about income on the radio show. And, one thing that I learned a long time ago was I don't know everything. And I'm going to be honest with you, by actually learning. And when I find out things that I think are important, then I want to learn more and more of it. My dad always said, you're like a pit bull when it comes to learning. That's just my nature for some reason. That's not me bragging. That's just, when I learn something, I want to know more and more about it, especially when I know that it can benefit people, especially going into retirement. And I'm not just saying that because you're listening to our show, but people will call in on our show and they want to know more specifically about their situation and how this applies to them. And so what I learned a long time ago, this was back in like 2008 or 9, we were meeting with some clients, and every once in a while somebody would come in and they would have a portfolio made up of dividend paying stocks. Now keep in mind, I had a certain philosophy. So I was kind of closed-minded to this person when they kind of came in. And my dad always says your mind works best whenever it's open. It works best when it works like a parachute. We want it to open, right? If we're coming out of an airplane, we want to make sure that parachute's open. It's the same way when it comes to being open-minded. I find people are very closed-minded, or we're not just ready yet to actually zone in on something maybe that would be important. When it comes to your money, I hate to tell you, you need to spend a lot of time trying to find the right philosophy for your retirement. And when it comes to risk and income, those are the 2 things that people want to solve in my experience. But what I have found when I come across this particular prospect, what they were doing is they were trying to find if I could add to what they were doing. And they had income, and so they were living off the dividends. And at that time, even though I knew what dividends were and stuff, I was totally closed-minded. I wasn't even focused on that. And then all of a sudden, I've seen this more and more, from time to time. It would somebody coming in and their portfolios were doing better. They were thriving better than most other people were coming in that were taking large hits on their portfolio, after the financial crisis. And so I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to receive information. That's the reason why we share with people all the time on the radio. The whole goal is for you to be informed and educated and get the books and materials, because what I'm talking about is not generally been talked about when you go meet with financial advisors today. And I'm not just saying that. I know that because we examine portfolios. And when I look at a portfolio, they all look the same to me. If you look at, I'm sure a doctor, after they see one heart, they've seen thousands of hearts, and the more and more they see them, the more and more they can tell whether there's something wrong or not, even by when they, when somebody has to go through heart surgery and so forth. And so, we get really, really good at stuff. And so one thing I have found is, you got stocks and you got bonds, you got everything else. And most people got one of the first two and less of the other places you can put money, like gold and real estate and other places you can invest and be more diversified. But with that being said, I didn't have an open mind, and that's the whole goal. Is you want to be able to understand what it is. This is the philosophy we're talking about, investing for income. Is it for you? I want you to treat it like going to a store that you're not ready to buy. You're just browsing. Well, that's the name of the game. Browse to find what you want for your philosophy that's going to help you feel confident that you can get through retirement. All I'm going to share with you is stories of people that share differently when it comes to investing for principal first, income second, and that's what I see most portfolios are designed to do. So I would encourage you to go to our website and actually sign up for that appointment anytime you want to in any show or anytime during the week. Again, you can write down my website at www.sparks, that's plural, fgfinancialgroup.com, and you can schedule that appointment. And again, it's more specific to your situation. Matter of fact, we have a radio listener that we're going to be meeting with here today. And again, they're coming in. I don't know them. They don't know me, other than they've heard me on the show. And we're going to specifically talk about whatever it is they want to talk about. And I'm sure they're coming in wanting to know more about investing for income. What am I talking about? Why is this show different? Well, it's different because nobody is talking about it, and they should be talking about it because the thing you're wanting to solve in retirement is income. And it's hard to solve it by reducing your principal each and every month. I know that because every time somebody takes out $10 from your portfolio, and I'm dumbing this down to simple math, $7 of that is coming from the principal, $3 is coming from interest and dividends. I don't know about you, I'd rather all $10 coming from interest and dividends, and I don't want to touch my principal. I already know I got a step ahead of most people whenever it comes to retirement. It kind of reminds me when I used to play basketball years ago, and I would size a guy up, and we used to play a lot of basketball, in our driveway. We had about 5 or 6 of us. In the neighborhood I used to live in, there was about 12 or 13 guys total, and we're all probably within a few years apart. But I would size somebody up, and I would spot them, because I just size them up. I can tell that I can win the game, and I would say, okay, I'm going to spot you 5, and we're going to play by 1 point per basket, and we're going to go to 10. So in other words, I already gave them. I already gave them half the points up front. Well, did you know when you invest for income in the next 12 months, you got, believe it or not, you can expect 5% or $50,000 from $1 million portfolio already going to be handed to you over the next 12 months. And I don't know about you, but if I'm that basketball player and somebody's already spotted me 5, I only got to score 5 in order to win the game. Or myself, I had to score 10 points, and that's what most people are doing. They're trying to score from the growth component. When the markets are going up, that may work out fine, but when the markets go down, you don't have that extra coming in. And not only that, since you need income, you need it to come from where it should be coming appropriately for retirement, designed for retirement, and that is interest and dividends. That's why I focus so much on this show about interest and dividends, because we need something in our corner to extend our money, make it last longer, not taking the chance, taking the gamble, trusting a crystal ball, and expect the markets are going to cooperate on our behalf. I don't care what charts you've seen. I don't care if you've seen Monte Carlo simulations or whatever. At the end of the day, you don't know, and neither the financial advisor or any firm that actually uses those projections can tell you whether the markets are going to go up into the future. No more than a weatherman will tell you what the sun's going to be shining or it's going to be raining just in a week from now. So today our show is talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to annuities. And you buy an annuity for what it will do, not what it won't do. So there are several reasons people buy annuities, and it's mainly to solve some kind of a benefit. Longevity is one of the most important ones. You purchase a rider, it's attached to your actual principal. It's a way insurance companies basically do it, and it pays out a benefit called income for the rest of your life. Always be careful when you choose the income. Make sure you protect your spouse as well and actually get it paid to you as a joint benefit. Therefore, the benefit will continue to pay even if one or the other spouse passes away. That's why I like the rider for that reason, because sometimes people are afraid that if Social Security, we already know one of the Social Security incomes are going to go away, so sometimes the benefit can serve that particular spouse, the joint benefit will. Therefore, there's an additional income guarantee coming in that can sometimes solve the income loss of Social Security. At the end of the day, you had two guarantee incomes coming in from Social Security. Now you lose one, and so therefore sometimes people will purchase for that reason. So that's a joint benefit. Another reason people purchase them is for death benefit. Death benefits can come in different ways when it comes to particular annuities. Some of them come in where they'll give you, anywhere between 25 to 50% on your benefit value right out of the gate, and plus every time there's any kind of earnings in the index, that's a particular type of indexed annuity. You can even get these with no fees. Of course, the returns are going to be much more skewed because they're giving you so much of a benefit up front. But sometimes those can serve people that, even sometimes that will do raw conversions. But the purpose of those is they want to leave that money behind. And so, you can see anywhere between 25 to 50% increases in that benefit immediately. The returns, unfortunately, on your real money, I've got to keep in mind, I said benefit account value, on your real money is going to be skewed and limited to about maybe 3% a year. And so some people may think that's not really enough. They can probably achieve better results by actually purchasing stocks that pay dividends, and they're okay with some of the volatility in stocks. And we encourage people to use dividend stocks. Therefore, they can generate much longer sustainable returns over time. So again, it really just depends on the purpose of what you're trying to serve. If you want a death benefit, that may make sense, especially if you're risk averse. Or if you have a lot of money, you got more than enough money, you don't think you're going to need it all, and there's a reason why sometimes I will see people do that. Another thing too is people want to purchase annuities for protection of principal. But there's only one annuity that actually pays returns each and every year, regardless of what the markets do, and by the same time do not have any fees. And that's also the annuity that's sold the less and purchased the less in America today because there's not a lot of compensation, and that is called a fixed annuity. A fixed annuity works just like a bond. A bond pays a certain amount of interest, and then based on the company, like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, whoever issues that bond, at the end of the maturity period, they give you your principal back, as long as there's no default risk. Well, with an annuity, a fixed annuity with no fees, you can actually get that interest very similar to a bond, and it's insured. It's insured by the insurance company as long as there's the paying claims of that company is strong, and they don't go out of business and so forth. And so you want to be able to purchase that annuity for that reason. And so we find people, especially in the interest rate environment we're in today, that are purchasing these more so than CDs because they're paying 6.25%, 6.5%. Some of them are right now at the very moment. take them while they last, because they're not going to last very long. And those pay out 5 to 7 years, and most people think that's pretty reasonable. They still got access to their money. They got access to their interest. Some of the companies even allow you to have access to 10% of the balance each and every year. Unlike CDs, you have to wait to the maturity period. So, again, that's one of the reasons why people uses that particular annuity. And by the way, you don't give up your principal with that particular annuity. It's just like a bond. At the end of the 5, 7, or 10 years, 3 years, ever how long you purchase that particular annuity, just like a bond, you take the money out and you invest it somewhere else. I've had people tell me that they don't want to, give up their money in exchange for an income. There is an annuity like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. So if you want to learn more about income first methods, in other words, different ways to generate income other than annuities, then I got an excellent book I'm going to get in your hand called The Retirement Income Story. You don't have to have an annuity to get income, even though they do solve income. A lot of the annuities do. But you can actually use market-based investments to do the same thing. And this book is written by CFA Dave Scranton, and he talks about investing for income. And there's a lot of things, especially in the first 3 chapters, I think that where a lot of people read and they get enough information to be able to understand that they are doing things wrong, especially when it comes to retirement. And the book can be yours if you're one of the first 5 callers, 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail this book out to you if you're one of the first 5 callers, free, no obligation book, 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks. I'll be right back. Welcome to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks, your host, and our show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. Today we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to annuities. We thank you for listening and tuned in. Like I said earlier, most people are purchasing annuities, and last year there was a record. $96 billion of people's money went into annuities, which begs the question, why is that? Why are people purchasing annuities? And this show is kind of just scratching the surface on why that is. There's always going to be some kind of caution when it comes to buying something you're not familiar with. And one of the things that we recommend is never ever buy an annuity from somebody that's been in the business for a couple years. Why is that? Because first of all, they don't know a lot about annuities. I mean, you probably know as much as they do. You probably can read a few articles and you can probably know as much as they do in some sense, but at the same time, they're so new to the industry, they don't know by experience what annuities to work with and what annuities to stay away from. And so a lot of times when you're new at something, it's just that, you could be given advice on something that you thought you knew, and then all of a sudden you wind up being incorrect. And, annuities, the downside to them is they have penalties on them. If you purchase the wrong annuity, you may be stuck with that annuity for as much as 10 years. And so there's some motivation when somebody sells you an annuity, and it's called compensation. If you're going to be compensating an annuity, I'm all for being compensated, because people are going to be, as you know, it doesn't matter where you invest your money as a financial advisor, whether a fiduciary or fee-based or whatever, everybody's making money on your money. Even if you go to, a discount wirehouse like Vanguard, the Vanguard is not working for free. They are making money on your money. And a lot of times people play that down. They think that, well, I'm over here, I'm not hardly paying any fees. They think, well, are you getting a benefit for being over there? You can be at a discount place and be in the market, and your penalty is if you don't understand the instruments that you're in, you may be getting them a discount, and I'm all for Vanguard in some way, but at the same time, you may not be getting the income you need, or if you take a loss, now you're going to have to you take a penalty called market loss instead, and you could have maybe minimized that, and because sometimes people play that down. They think that fees is everything. Well, fees is a problem in the absence of value. And speaking of fees, one of the biggest reasons why people don't like particular annuities is because they're high in fees. Well, there's only one particular annuity out there that actually has higher fees. In general, it depends on how many riders you got attached to it. The fees can be enormous. Anywhere between 3 and 6% is the normal average fee, and I'm talking about a variable annuity. A variable annuity means you're in the market. That means the word description of that variable means you're in the market. You got mutual funds inside that annuity, and so you got an insurance company that's giving you some kind of a guarantee. So that's the reason why the fees are so high in a particular annuity. But those fees are assessed to your actual principal, your actual money. And to be quite honest with you, I agree with you. I totally disagree with that particular annuity. Don't understand why people purchase them today other than the purpose of income. If you want them from income, that's fine. But you probably heard it said, oh, you can earn 6%. Doesn't matter what the market does. Well, people, that they're not talking about a return. They're talking about a benefit return. A benefit return is not something you can walk away from. And not only that, you have to pay a fee to get that benefit return. So it's a different bucket of money. Because if you look at your homeowner's insurance, you know, if you got a house, declarations page says it's worth $500,000 and you're paying $2,500 a year in insurance to keep that from burning down, that's just it. It's a benefit. You can't call them up and say, well, you know what, I've been with you all for I don't know how many years, sending you these premiums, send me my $500,000 because y'all say it's worth that. No, it has to burn down in order to be able to get that. It's the same way here. If you walk away from the company and you lose that benefit, that's the purpose of that, but it's not something you can walk away with, and it's not real money. So you got to be careful whenever you're taking on one of those particular annuities, because if you're wanting to leave a death benefit, it's one of the worst annuities you can actually give to your heirs. I want to share with you a great commission report called Risk Tolerance and Investing for Income. In other words, with the right risk tolerance, you can actually be in market-based investments. You don't need an annuity to generate income. I say that a lot on this show. I'm just sharing with you why is it that so many people are investing in annuities. And so you need to know the skinny on that and how that works out, and for you and your particular risk tolerance. And this is a great commission report. It can be yours if you call 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail this to you or email it to you, whichever you prefer. That number again is 888-930-1080. Today we are talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to annuities. Annuities are being sold right and left on pretty much every street corner right now. 8 out of 10 offices people go visit with, they are going to be proposed an annuity. And they're proposed as if they are the be-all, end-all. Well, if I had my druthers, this is a great interest rate environment right now. There's nothing wrong with, if there's ever a time to purchase an annuity, it has been in the last year or so because interest rates are up. And you may be thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm kind of closed-minded to annuities. I don't even like annuities. But, you know, what do you mean by interest rates are up? Why are they better now than they were just a few years ago? Well, a few years ago, interest rates were at, 0 to 1%, if you remember, the federal funds rate. So if the rates are low, that means the rates on any given income instrument is also going to be low. You know, corporate bonds were maybe paying 3%, municipal bonds were less than 3%, and you know, the 10-year T-bill was 1.25%. It's a lot of risk just to get very little return. Well, there's a particular annuity out there called a fixed indexed annuity. And so if anybody purchased an indexed annuity, they were capped on the returns. And so today, if you own that particular annuity 3 years ago, you may want to trade that in. Why? Because the caps on those annuities are 3 to 5%. Today, they're capped at 10 to 12% in some companies. But there's also something you have to be concerned about. The longer the maturity period, the longer they have your money, the more they're going to probably lower those caps over time. So typically those particular annuities may make 4, 5, or 6% a year. So here's how you got to look at it. You got a floor of 0, and you've got, matter of fact, there's some companies out there that are offering a minimum of 3%. You know, that for, you know, if you buy a 10-year annuity, they're going to guarantee you 3% regardless, and that's not really a bad deal in one sense. But I can get a fixed annuity at, you know, 5.5 or 6%. I'd rather have that if that's what I'm trying to do. But you can get that and have a 0 floor with a 10 or a 12% cap. And that's not too bad. In other words, go figure. The average return is probably going to be somewhere in the middle. But if you get a lot of goose eggs, zeros, that means you're going to have a lower return. If you get more upside, in other words, the markets are going up, trending upward, then you're going to get more upside, and then you're going to probably be glad you purchased that particular annuity. You can actually get that annuity without any fees. Again, it really just depends on the person. And if you're risk averse and you're just wanting some return, then that annuity may serve you well. But keep in mind that a good stock paying dividend portfolio will outperform pretty much about everything that I talk about on this show. Why is that? Because if I need 4%, I can get it from dividends. If I'm wanting to beat inflation at the same time, I can get it by investing in stocks, by having the proper stocks, not just any stock that pay dividend. That's the reason why we want analysts, because analysts goes out there, a really good focused analysts, that's all they do. They can go out there and they can find the companies that are not in favor. See, most people will buy companies that residually they're in favor, that they've heard about. They'll just invest in them for dividend. They get so-so returns. Well, a good dividend strategist can actually get growth and income and get the overall growth up to 12, 15, 16% some years. And that is very huge, especially when you're trying to beat inflation while simultaneously trying to get income. So if you want to learn more about income first methods that makes more sense for retirement, in other words, want to make a shift, want to understand the philosophy of income, I got a great book called The Retirement Income Story, authored by CFA Dave Scranton. And I got a free copy for the first 5 callers of today's retirement income source by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. We'll mail this to you or email it to you, whichever you prefer. Again, a free, no obligation book. Great read on investing for income. 888-930-1080. We thank you for tuning in and listening to our show for the last hour. And we hope you learned a lot about retirement solutions and our philosophy. Keep in mind, it's our philosophy. We like investing for income. I want to get more mileage out of our clients' money. I'm Tim Sparks, and I'm looking forward to joining you again next week for some great information for stress-free retirement. Again, don't forget our next week's show for some great information. Thank you for joining us here on the Retirement Income Source.